everyone. Welcome to Rooted Frequency. Thank you so much for joining me once again for an episode. I thought it would be fun to do a predictions episode. We will focus on some of my favorite mystics and astrologers, and also some experts in various industries who are making more what you would say educated inferences for the new year. And I want to take all of this information and look at it with the year of the dragon and see what similarities there are, who is saying similar things. And I have a little surprise because I did a deep meditation the other day and channeled Archangel Michael and asked about what was in store for us for 2024. And of course, like I always specify, nothing is written in stone. The future is always changing. I feel like when we have readings from our highest self, these tidbits are coming from a possibility of our highest timeline self. So if you make a bunch of terrible decisions, you're not going to have those positive outcomes that may have came out in your reading. Also, when something dire comes through in a reading, or when we do channeling and ask for predictions for the new year, a lot of times similar thing. It's going to give us kind of highest timeline scenarios and then lowest timeline. So there's always room to change and grow as a human race and society. So just because some things looked doomy and gloomy doesn't mean that that is set in stone. I truly believe we have free will and that God made it so. But I also think that there's certain inevitable events that are usually meant to happen along the timeline. And I believe that depending on how we structure our lives and what vibration and frequency we are at, and, like making decisions from a space of love and what's best for the good rather than just for us on a selfish note, I believe that these things that are set in stone that must happen can be of varying degrees. So you still may be an amazing, awesome person and have some unfortunate luck, but there's usually a lesson that comes out of that later we look back on and realize why things had to roll out that way. So that being said, I am not going to say that all of these things are definitely going to happen or in any way are meant to scare you. I think that it is interesting, and it is also kind of fun to think that a lot of things that we may intuitively kind of foresee for 2024, many other people are foreseeing as well. And it all just plays into the fact that we are connected, that we are one, like at the end of our yoga sessions when we say namaste, and that, our lights are connected. So it's like, I like to always think of mushrooms and our little root structure and how they are connected on this beautiful cellular level. And I think that we just are too caught up in the day-to-day and in our human brains and selves to notice the beauty. But when you have those beautiful moments where you truly feel connected with another, in those moments it's so easy to see what the point is. You know what I mean? In those moments you realize that nothing is more important than that human connection, than the relationships that we build with one another. Even temporary relationships or people that kind of flit into your life and out, a lot of times those relationships are very impactful and they set you on a course for yourself. And we just go through everything so freaking fast that we don't pause to appreciate them. and savor those little moments. You know, it really is true that life happens in between all of those big moments and big events. So let's get into 2024. First, I wish everyone an amazing new year. And I actually do feel like there's going to be some really wonderful things that come out of 2024. On the surface, there's going to be some bad stuff, especially if you are a person who is constantly in tuned to the news and you're going to be hung up on feeling bad for a lot of people. And I'm not saying empathy is a bad thing. It's great to have empathy. It's not great to live in a constant state of fear because of all of the bad things going on in life. I always say that unless there's something that you yourself can do to help a situation, you do not need to be carrying the weight of it. So when things are happening around the world, like wars and things in other countries, it's absolutely amazing to send good vibrations to those places or prayer. But once you do that, there is absolutely no use in harboring that heaviness for the rest of your day. We need to find coping mechanisms for releasing that energy that sticks to us so that you can be the best version of yourself. Because what happens is this trickle effect when we can't do anything about these situations anyway, besides things like prayer, or maybe you are in a position where you could send money or whatever you can do. But if you truly can't do much besides send good intentions to people having a rough go of it, then you need to consider the fact that if you let that drag you down, then all of that negativity, all of those evil people doing things to those people are winning because you are going around spreading that negativity, not even meaning to. You think you just have a big heart and you just care. But that's part of the problem. We need to care when things are in front of us, and we also need to do something about it. So many people walk around caring and then don't really want to get involved or don't want to say anything when things rub them the wrong way. But we need to start standing up for what's right, making a difference when we can, and realizing that in between those moments, we are living our lives and we need to appreciate who is in front of us. And we need to appreciate the times that we can cherish on this earth. Okay, that's my soapbox. I will step off and get back on track. But I really do want us to go into 2024 thinking more about a sense of community. I think if we're going to give a theme to 2024, it really, really has to be community. Because I truly believe there's going to be a lot of forces out there trying to take down our willpower and our feeling like we have the ability to make change. So really tearing us down next year. And if you can find a community, and that is the good thing about technology. There's online communities in case there's nothing immediately in your area. But find somebody who is of like mind, or even a podcast you're listening to, a book you're reading. There's so much information out there. Something to uplift you and let you know you're not alone. And that together, this beautiful connected mushroom tribe will be working towards a greater good this year. So, notable 2024 predictions. We'll start with AI, which I think anybody who's paying attention sees all of these developments coming in AI. Elon Musk, for example, the CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, expects Neuralink to receive FDA approval for its brain-computer interface technology in 2024. This is a technology that he is saying will potentially allow paralyzed people to control computers with their thoughts. So, on the surface, sounds good, right? Like if you have a loved one who's paralyzed and you feel terrible because they can't do much on their own, this could potentially link up their brains to be able to control computers, and a step further than that, maybe even like matrixy, putting your consciousness into an entire computer. So this is just the beginning, people. Just watch. The facade of it being like to help people. I mean, yes, it will help people. However, these scientists want to take things so much further. And that is what we need to all be paying attention to in the next couple years. Ray Kurzweil, futurist and author of The Singularity is Near, believes that 2024 could be the year when artificial general intelligence, so AGI, emerges, making a significant milestone in human history. Now, what is AGI? It's a, right now, hypothetical type of artificial intelligence that would possess the cognitive abilities of a human being. Yes, be able to think like a human being. So unlike AI systems that we have right now, at least that we are told about and aware of, they are more specific in tasks, right? So they are trained in certain intelligence or things to advance medicine or to recognize human faces, things like that. AGI would have the capacity to learn and understand any intellectual task to the same degree a human can. So they will have problem-solving ability, understanding and generating language, learning from experience, self-awareness, and consciousness. Yeah. So all those people who are saying that AI is going to take over, is it AGI? Because once we give these machines quote-unquote consciousness, which we don't even completely understand what consciousness is. That is a whole side debate. Where does consciousness reside in the body? Is it in the brain? Do we have souls? No one completely understands that yet. So are we playing God? I'll let you think about that. Another topic I wanted to just cover that seems to be a consensus, if you will, amongst experts in the field of economics, but also has been touched on by mystics, and that is a recession. So one to point out is Nouriel Roubini, author of Crisis Economics. He was warning of a potential global recession in 2024, triggered by a combination of factors like rising inflation, interest rates, and the geopolitical tensions. And I think anyone, again, paying attention can kind of see the writing on the wall that this has already been happening. I mean, this gap between the uber wealthy and the so-called middle class is expanding, and the middle class is scraping by more than you would think the the quote-unquote labeled middle class should be. Let's touch on some of my favorite mystics. Baba Vanga is the first that we're going to touch on. She was a blind Bulgarian mystic who passed away in 1996. And she left behind a series of predictions about the future. She went blind when she was a child and started having these visions and had a huge following. A lot of people give a lot of credit to things that she has prophesized. She also has made thousands of predictions, and some people say it's like throwing darts at a dartboard. Eventually, something's going to hit. So whether you are a Baba Vanga believer or not, some of her predictions are similar to experts who are kind of just right now looking at the writing on the wall and predicting things that are upcoming. In technology, she predicted that 2024 would see significant progress in the development of quantum computers, which would revolutionize fields like medicine, material science, and artificial intelligence. Rise of cyber attacks. Baba Vanga warned of an increase in cyber attacks and hacking attempts targeting critical infrastructure like power grids and communication networks. Many people feel that there is a looming attack coming on our power grids, and that this will be an absolute collapse of life as we know it. She also did see a shift in economic power and a shift in rising of debt levels that would cause a shift in economic power from west to east. Some people thinking like that is saying countries like China and India would be playing a more prominent role on the global stage. And she just mentioned the rising debt levels and the geopolitical tension could cause disruption in global supply chains, which would end up causing a total collapse. Everything is not bad. She did say some positive stuff for medicine, like new treatments for incurable diseases, like Alzheimer's and cancer. But she also said that there would be extreme weather. So Baba Vanga warned of an increase in extreme weather events like floods, droughts, and hurricanes, potentially linked to climate change and environmental degradation. If you haven't heard of Baba Vanga, this next one most people are familiar with. We're going to touch on Nostradamus, the French physician, astrologer, and poet. And he was best known for his collection of cryptic quatrains that were supposedly predicting future events. So these were very poemy, as he used his poetry gift, I suppose. So his are definitely up for interpretation, considering the ambiguity that these texts can take on. But I, again, find it interesting that there seems to be overlap from people who didn't even live during the same century. So what are some things that people have interpreted that suggest potential scenarios for 2024 that Nostradamus may have been predicting in his texts that he wrote? Global conflict. So he would talk about naval confrontation. Some people interpret this as a hint of naval conflict or struggle for maritime dominance, potentially involving China. So I point that out because of Baba Vanga pointing out this rise in power coming from the east. He also pointed out escalating of tensions, geopolitical, just like Baba Vanga, that the war around the world could worsen in 2024, leading to instability and uncertainty. Climate catastrophe, environmental challenges. He made references to a dry earth and great floods, which many people have said seems to point out the intensifying climate disasters that have been happening. So climate change leading to droughts, floods, and extreme weather events. He also suggested royal upheaval, suggesting potential changes or challenges within royal families, possible leadership changes or internal power struggles, and economic troubles. So there's many verses that foreshadow these economic hardships and social unrest, potentially due to inflation, financial instability, or resource scarcity, which is interesting because Baba Vanga also had suggested a interference with our supply chain, so resource scarcity. Something to think about. He also talked about huge technological leaps, and many people saw the way he wrote them as negative warnings, hinting that these significant technological breakthroughs or discoveries could be detrimental to humankind. Again, these are people's interpretations because he did not write things straightforward, but rather in cryptic little poems. And last, I'm going to touch on the Fatima predictions, which are a series of messages that were said to have been given to 3 young shepherds in Fatima, Portugal, in 1917 by an apparition of the Virgin Mary. These messages are often described as apocalyptic and have been interpreted in several ways. There's basically 3 parts to them, or they call them like the 3 secrets. The central element of the predictions are these 3 secrets, which were supposedly revealed to the youngest shepherd, Lucia Santos. This first secret was said to have been a vision of hell. I know, it's pretty scary. We're going to break down what people think about these secrets. People do have skepticism because, like other prophecies, there was some vagueness to these 3 secrets that were revealed, and they are a bit cryptic and can be open to multiple interpretations. So that can be said pretty much of all of the prophecies, right? And there's also some interpretations of the first 2 secrets revealed in 1941 are seen as fulfilled by historical events like World Wars I and II, but people argue because these were released after the events happened, sort of to force them to fit into these historical periods. And the third secret, which was finally revealed in the year 2000, remains highly debated, with varying interpretations ranging from national disasters to crisis within the church. So there's definitely not a consensus of these. Second secret is believed to have concerned a future war and the persecution of the church. And the third secret, which Lucia initially refused to reveal, has been the subject of much speculation. Some believe it refers to a future apostasy within the church, while others interpret it as a warning about the coming period of great suffering. So very apocalyptic. But now on to my predictions, which I did this channeling before I started to dive deep into these other prophecies. But again, I believe everyone is intuitive, and I think the reason I want to cover these is that a lot of people feel this exact same way because everyone receives downloads constantly, whether you know it or not. So I broke these down by kind of themes of things that came through. I also had a theme about technology. So there was visions of AI making gigantic advancement in the span of 1 year. And also war. So tension between I had visions of Russia, which came up some in Fatima secrets, and some of a rising power coming from China. And basically, this being attributed to the economy. So that in the United States, we are going to suffer greatly and have a pretty big depression, like a money depression. So, that our country is going to see a lot of financial struggle, ruin, collapse. And that other countries are going to be able to use this period of time to become a bigger world power while we are in this position. And again, I don't think anybody who gets into meditation and has these things come through is special. I encourage you to meditate. Get as deep as you can into meditation and put a journal by you and whoever you like to talk to. It could even be like a deceased loved one or your highest self, or you could just flat out ask God or Jesus. But say, what are we looking at with 2024, and just write down what comes through. Everyone can do that. And perhaps you have a very bright vision of 2024 come through, and you can shed some light and hope over the world. So I always encourage everyone not to take one person's word as them being some sort of master or guru, because we all have these abilities, and it can start as simply with meditation, I promise you. So another thing that kept coming through for me was the word consecration, which was odd because as far as I know about the word consecration, I just thought it meant to like consecrate the ground, or that like a priest would bless something and that it's consecrated. But the word itself, when I looked it up, actually can have several different meanings. So it could talk about us focusing on inner transformation in the year 2024, so aligning with spiritual principles that are found in various religions. So the concept of this consecration, like this call for personal transformation and growth outside of one religion, one religious value. It could talk about an increase of spiritual yearning. And I think that we've already been experiencing that with so many people waking up since the ongoing pandemic with this social unrest and environmental changes. So this could lead people to have an interest in deeper spiritual practices. I also really resonated with this one, that it could also outline the importance of sacred spaces. Consecration can also be seen as a way to designate and protect sacred spaces where individuals and communities can connect with the divine or experience spiritual renewal. So it could involve the dedication of new religious buildings, the revitalization of existing ones, but I feel like that is pointing out this deep inner feeling that I have of the importance of community, of spiritual community, that it is going to be important for us to gather. I think many people have been having sort of prophetic dreams for a while. I think there's going to be a lot of events seen around the world. And again, I think the bigger picture is going to be to try to stay steadfast in your faith, your grounding, your community, and in what actually is important, because the tale of fear that is going to be played on media and on your television, and that will be the hot topic of conversation amongst a lot of people out and about, you don't want to get dragged down in that. we have to stay in the light. That's just my biggest thing after all of this. Take everything else with a grain of salt. You can't possibly go wrong by finding community to grow in your spirituality and grow in love and find a safe space for healing and doing amazing things, finding your purpose. So to wrap this up, I want to leave you with the fact that the Chinese calendar identifies the year 2024 as the year of the dragon, specifically the year of the wood dragon, and the symbolic significance of the dragon. So we have like power and strength, as dragons represent energy, ambition. So this could be a great year to tap into your inner fire, pursue your goals with unwavering determination. So if all of that stuff happens, if kind of the world deteriorates and crumbles all around us, and you manage to find some beautiful spiritual community to find power and strength with, maybe it's your year to let go of all of the BS around you, all of the money, all of the things. Find your inner fire, find what lights you up, and pursue your goals with unwavering determination. If we can focus on things like that, I think it sounds a lot more exciting than doom and gloom. The dragon also represents transformation and growth. So new beginnings, transformative journeys. It could be a great time to shed old limitations and embrace change to reach full potential. Now, the dragon is also associated with luck and prosperity. Those things are never guaranteed, but it holds potential for success and abundance. I choose to believe that this is going to be the year where our perspectives change, where we see abundance as something other than money, something other than the tangible, where we're seeing positive outcomes in various aspects of life by really tuning in to what lights us up and what truly is beautiful. Why are we here? Now, the dragon's energy can be intense, so there could be some challenges that'll create opportunities. So we want to try to maintain balance, and we can do it with community, with strong mentors to lean on. And I think that we can all be mentors to one another. There's always someone who wants to hear what stage of life you're in. That's, I think, the way it's supposed to work. We are all supposed to lift one another up and focus on positive intentions. So I do think that there's potential for a good year here. As the wood dragon, it's more specific in emphasizing growth, expansion, and creativity. So to me, that says new ventures, taking risks, fresh ideas, and we can take what could be thrown at us as a bunch of crap, so to speak, and make it manure to grow something beautiful. So let's grow something beautiful next year together, okay? Focus on the positive. Meditate. It's like a game changer, I promise. Stay focused on the positive. Find your community. I love you all so much. Thank you for listening. You are all absolutely incredible, and I think we should be excited for the new year. Thank you.